This is David Hernandez. I want to welcome you to the very first episode of the Regional Report. Why Regional Report? Well, it's a little thing happened in Anaheim. Some of you were there about 5 months ago, seemingly. I was elected to the California Republican Party. That's the state party. To the position of regional vice chair representing all of Los Angeles County to the state party. And so this episode, we're going to break down a little bit about the infrastructure of the Republican Party in California, in LA County, and we're very, very pleased to have at our first show members of the Central Committee, and by the time we get done, you'll know what that means, for the 44th State Assembly District, where I live. And so I'm really fortunate to be rubbing elbows here with individuals in the seat of power in the 44th AD. And so before I get started, let's go ahead and let's introduce this gentleman over here in that beautiful red shirt. And that is our future ex officio,
Tony Rodriguez, running for State Assembly District 44.
44. And sitting next to you is a new friend who has just been newly elected to the Central Committee,
Lisa Cusack.
And a veterano from the 44th AD and the current president of the AD, that is Ara
Kachadorian, chair of the 44th AD.
All right, well, and welcome, and it's really exciting because I've been involved in politics since 2002. I mean, my first entry was running for Congress in the district. I had never been involved in politics. That was when I'm 75 now, so that was 22 years ago. And the reason I got involved was my neighbor, who was 94, said, "David, how come there's never a Republican to vote for Congress?" And that I was so uninvolved that I didn't even realize that I had voted anybody for Congress for 10 years in the district. And so I went down to the county recorder's office and I said, what do you have to do to run for office? See, I had, like most people, have no idea about politics, the infrastructure. I mean, they may be very passionate about issues. I know, Lisa, you're very passionate about issues. But as far as how the mechanism works, I was shocked. And I went down there, and I know Tony's been down there. And whose permission do I need in order to run for office? Do I have to have a certain degree? Do I have to have a certain license? I mean, what is it? They go, there's a clipboard over there in the center of the room. Fill it out, and you've entered the body politics of, it's a simple process. It's not easy, but it's a simple process. And it really, I was really affected by it is that, wow, what other country in the world do we have such an opportunity as Americans? And I think that gets overlooked sometimes. And I commend people that get involved in politics, not only as candidates, but as members of the governing body, is because for me, politics, I've always believed that it should be a noble profession. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, when good people don't get involved, that's why I'm excited that you're here. When good people don't get involved in politics, it doesn't stay a vacuum. We end up with what we have today. I mean, we end up with the city council. I think, a third of them have been in prison, are going to prison, right, or are waiting on their indictment. I mean, and that's just the city council. And so we saw that with the county supervisors, with the district attorney's office. Right. 11 felony counts against the number 3 person in the top law enforcement agency in LA County. And so it's important. But in order for people to get involved, they need to know the structure and how they can get involved. So in California, we have the State Republican Party. So that takes up, there's 58 counties in California. Since Los Angeles is so large, 88 cities, 10 million residents, over 1 million Republicans in Los Angeles County. LA County is its own region. So so that's at the state party. So that's the level that I'm at. I was elected to the state party. You have at the state party, we have Jessica Patterson, who was our chairman of the party, Corinne Rankin, who's the vice chair. We have a treasurer, a recording secretary. So the state party has its own board. Now, and the California is divided up into regions. And like I said, LA County is so big, it's its own region. And that's where I was elected to. But at the county level, and that's where you individuals were elected to, LA County itself is divided up into assembly districts. That's how they manage the infrastructure of the county party. In Los Angeles County, there's 24 assembly districts. And each of those assembly districts are designed to have individuals such as yourself representing the thousands and thousands of Republicans within that assembly district. I believe in your district, there's at least 50,000 or more registered Republicans. And so if we want to bring up the map of the 44th assembly district, we'll be able to see the communities within the 44th district. So that's Universal Studios, Burbank, North Hollywood, La Crescenta, Sunland Tujunga. I mean, when you look over there into Glendale, when you look at the district itself, you represent such a diverse area and a diverse community. You have a very strong Armenian community. You have a very strong Hispanic community. So it's not only by ethnicity, but you look up in Sunland Tujunga, you look at the equestrian community. I know, Tony, you have Lakeview Terrace up there. And you know, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I mean, that's... when I tell people I learned to water ski at 14 at Hansen Dam because it was an 80-acre lake for boating, and there was another lake for fishing. And so this is where I grew up. And so to have individuals such as yourself stepping up, and it's a volunteer position. Mm-hmm. So the Central Committee is the governing body for the Republican Party in Los Angeles County. And so you are either elected or you're appointed. We just had the March 5th election, and I believe, Lisa, you were elected to that position. Mm-hmm. So there were 7 openings. Ara was reelected to that position. He was currently there now, and Tony ran for state assembly. So you are what we refer to as an ex officio, which means as an ex officio, you have every right and every responsibility that the elected or appointed Central Committee members have. So it's really great that we can work together. So Los Angeles County has something like about, I think, 206 or 7 Central Committee members, which includes ex officios from all over the county. At the state party level, we have the state party, but you have individuals such as myself who are delegates to the state party. So the voting members of the state party are the delegates, who Tony is also a delegate to the state party because as running for a partisan office, the Republican that gets the most votes becomes a delegate to the state party. One of the things Tony will be able to do as the ex officio, depending on the number of votes he received, the percentage, he'll be able to appoint, people like Ara as a delegate to the state party, or Lisa, depending on the number of votes. I believe as regional vice chair that the county party, and especially someone who has put in so much time as Ara has put in, Ara deserves to be a delegate to the state party. That way we merge the two together and that we work together because we all need to be rowing in the same direction. Mm-hmm. And so that's basically the breakdown. In Los Angeles County, we have a little bit under 200 state delegates. State delegates can either be elected as ex officios, they can be appointed by ex officios, or they can be appointed by the county party chair, the state party chair. So there's a different formula for that. Those are the only ones that have a vote in state party leadership, platform changes, endorsements, resolutions. So of the 5 million Republicans in California, there's only about 1,400 now state party delegates that are going to vote, and which means that's a huge responsibility because you represent 5 million people, and they're counting on you. Now, unfortunately, and that's why we wanted to start this program, is that if we're going to be successful going forward, we need to support our central committees. We need to support the individual central committees that are out there volunteering. I mean, you're taking time away, Lisa, from your family. You have your children. Ara, you have your business. Tony, you have the things that you love to do as well. But here we are, on a Friday afternoon, when we could be at the movies, we could be bowling, we could be doing anything. But here we are talking politics. And so I really want to acknowledge the sacrifices that not only you're willing to make, but that your families have been willing to make. And I think if you're willing to do that, then in my position, I have a responsibility to you. As a regional vice chair, I'm not your boss. I have no say-so over anything that you do as the LA County Central Committee. All I can do is offer assistance. And so with that, we've given our viewers at least a bird's eye view of the infrastructure of the state party and the county party. And so I think it's time to let our viewers get to know what type of individuals and who are these people that would step into the arena. So why don't we start with Lisa, and you can share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hi. So Lisa Cusack again. I'm born and raised in LA. Went to UCLA. I've always been interested in politics. I kind of saw myself in a writer role. I wrote a few things, but it was really 2020 and 2021 that activated me. We moved where we was hit pretty hard with some of the riots. The city, it was LA City, so the city just let the neighborhood go to heck in a handbasket. And so we moved to Glendale, and Glendale is such a well-run city at the moment. And so I jumped into local politics. I was like, I don't want Glendale to turn into LA. And so
that is part of LA County.
Yeah,
so
it's part of LA County. So I started by working for a friend's city council campaign, Jordan Henry, and got involved. And then from there, I met other parents that were really concerned about the school boards. My kids are at a Christian school, but I am equally concerned about what's going on in the public school because, those are my kids' cohorts, and that's going to be the next generation. So I helped again in the school board races this time. And I think I just in 2020 sort of came to the conclusion, like, somebody has to do something. And I think if I don't get involved, who else will? Because I am crazy enough to do an unpaid position and show up on a Friday night. So here I am. And I have so much to learn about Central Committee, but I sort of think of my role now as like being a support for the candidates and just like being there to get candidates like Tony elected and just do whatever they need. I actually love going door to door and canvassing, and I'm looking forward to doing it for you. And so, but I'm here to learn and hopefully make a difference.
Well, we really saw, I guess, especially in the past year and a half, 2 years, where so many mothers that are exactly in the position that you're in. It's all of a sudden they saw through distance learning what their kids were being taught in school. And all of a sudden the illusion that everyone had their children, their most prized possession, that they had their best interests in mind. And they started finding out, wait a minute, this is not age appropriate. Regardless of whatever the issue is, there is a disconnect between those with other agendas going on within the schools including indoctrination and grooming, that parents are like, wait a minute, how can I be a responsible parent and not speak up or go to a school board meeting or a city council meeting? And I know you've probably been to some of those meetings, and you go there and you're very passionate and you're very committed. And how much time do you get to speak to the address the school board members?
2 minutes if you're lucky.
2 minutes if you're lucky. And I'm sure they're all very attentive. They're paying attention to hanging on every word.
Yeah, they're ignoring you. At one meeting, they refused to let the parents use the bathrooms. So they would use the bathrooms, but no parents were allowed to use the bathrooms.
Didn't they have some of those seminars in the 70s where you had to hold it? You couldn't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was one school board meeting where one of the members of the neighborhood council in Silver Lake basically sent Antifa to the meeting, and there was outside agitators, and that actually made that made national news because some of the agitators got into a minute sort of tussle with the dads. But that was totally outside agitators.
Yeah, well, and you're seeing that a lot, and you mentioned that you went to UCLA. What's going on there today?
Yeah, same thing.
I mean, you have, and it's unfortunate because, young people can be very passionate, very susceptible to like mob mentality. They get swooped up, and they become, they become victims themselves of it's almost an indoctrination. And they're very passionate, and they want purpose and a cause. And next thing you know, they're at UCLA, we're all watching MIT and all of the colleges back east, and all of a sudden now it's USC was yesterday, so all of that is happening. And so, so it's really good. So it's like, I mean, you have a reason to do what you're doing.
Yep.
And that's your kids, your family.
Yeah. And I love California. I've born and raised here. I have family here and friends here, and I don't want to move. So I figure I'm going to have to fight if I'm going to be able to, if it's going to be livable, we have to step up and start.
Yeah. Well, Ara, and a lot of people have moved, but what's taking place here in California, it doesn't stay here. It follows them. And so now, why don't we share a little bit about your background and how you got involved? Why?
My name's Ara Cacciadorian. I'm a husband, father, 20-year resident in Glendale. I originally am from Michigan. My background is in how I got involved in politics. I started out as one of those 8, 9-year-old kids that were needing to do the flags and as well as pass out literature in the parade. And so that's how I got started. I come from a family, being of Armenian descent, is you come to the community, you learn the language, you learn the culture, and build upon it and try to make it better than where you entered into. So fast forward to where we are today. It's been a process where many of us have come here or we've gotten educated here, and there's a progression where you either start a business, you start a family, and that's with the intention of trying to create a better life for your children. And so along the way, decisions get made that affect our lives that you're not aware of until that decision gets actually implemented, because we're busy either running our business or going to work, making sure that the home life is good, making sure that, we're involved in our respective civic communities as best as possible. But when you see that things go off the path, you go, well, then what are these people doing that we trusted them with our livelihood, our children's education, our public safety? And so that's why I've gotten involved, because there are people that really do honestly care about their children's education, public safety. Can they have a viable business livelihood where they can have a living for their families? And when things like that affect the fabric, the safety of our families, it starts making one think, I have to be involved. I don't have a choice. And it's making sure that we have good people that are elected and making sure that we're educating and sharing information with our neighbors that maybe are not as engaged in the process involved. And so these are the dynamics that take place in the Central Committee, and how do we help kind of be a voice for people that they are elected or looking to get elected, but what are those policy decisions that are going to take place that are going to impact us? And I think it goes back to a lot of common sense. So that's why I've gotten involved.
Well, and it's refreshing. We just need to multiply you, and we are. We're multiplying it here, in 24 assembly districts, because in LA County we have 2 assembly districts with no one on the Central Committee, and so that is really doing. And so it just shows me there's so many opportunities to be of service. I mean, I'm tired of looking at the negative part or who should have done what or would have, could have. the fact is that if there is a need, and there are people that are willing to step up, either to be on the Central Committee, and we'll go into the opportunities or the duties, responsibilities, and opportunities for Central Committee members, because our listeners, they'll be able to contact you if they live in the 44th Assembly District. They can become a part of this. And the same thing with the other 22, unfortunately, too, with it. We're looking for people for those two. But Tony, I mean, you're stepping into the political arena. Now, is this the second time?
Second time. The first time I ran as an independent, as you know, because I was disenfranchised. I wasn't a big fan of what I saw in the Republican Party. And I came back mainly because of you and Rudy Melendez talking to me. I've always been an advocate for the conservative side of the house. I've always volunteered in my neighborhood. I cleaned beaches in San Diego, away from the city. I've always been involved in my neighborhood. I was also a member of the State Disability Board for the self-determination program. And that was, again, my grandkids. I have a granddaughter who has Down syndrome. And I was tired of the government telling us what she needed. And the self-determination program was a program allowing parents to make the decision of what kind of therapy you felt your child or your adult member needed, for that matter, right? Instead of what we have now in California, we have these little regional centers that spend the money the way they want. So if they think your child needs swimming lessons, that's what they're going to do, or ballet lessons. Well, my granddaughter likes horses. She doesn't like ballet. She really doesn't need swimming lessons, and they wouldn't approve it. So we pushed hard. I became a board member, kind of shoved my way into that position. I kept applying. They kept rejecting me. And after 7 or 8 times, they finally said, all right, enough. You're a board member. And we got my granddaughter involved in that. And it's helped her tremendously with her confidence, her skills, her speech. So there's things that we can do in positions we can get into, whether it's a school board, whether it's city council, whether it's state assembly, whether it's whatever position. There's things we can do to help ourselves instead of having the government telling us what to do, how to do it, what we need to do in their eyes. The Constitution is we the people, not we the government. And I think we've gotten away from that. But I think the message should be it's about us, not them. It's about us.
Well, no, and that's commendable. I mean, that's when my daughter was 22, she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Going from being, growing up, ice skating lessons and, early in the morning at ice capades or, their ice chalet and all those practices and, as a girls softball team and all that stuff. And all of a sudden at 22, all of a sudden can't get out of bed. And that's when I started a journey that's continuing today of going through the county healthcare system. And so a lot of my positions are based on those experiences. And that's why it's important for people to see that we have real people involved in politics. And those are real life experiences. I mean, I remember going to Olive View Medical Center in Sylmar, the emergency room, starting off the journey, a 6-hour wait just to see a check-in nurse, not a doctor. And to go in there and, she eventually had both her hips replaced, both her knees replaced, an elbow replaced, a stroke. I mean, she just spent 6 hours today getting an infusion at UCLA today. I dropped her off in the morning. And so when I look at the amount of people coming in and the limited resources that we have, whether it's the county healthcare system. There's a lot of great people working in the county healthcare system, but they're overwhelmed. You can't keep pouring thousands and thousands of more people into the system without the resources to bolster it. And I remember I was helping a young man who was diagnosed with AIDS, and he had been young and homeless, and he was a drug addict and an alcoholic. And he came to me when he was 60 days clean. And he asked for me to help him. And I go, well, I don't know what to do. I'm willing to do something because there are a lot of people out there that are watching this show that are willing to do something. I didn't have to know what to do. I asked. He goes, all my life, people look at me with disgust and pity. and I'm going to die. When I die, I'd like people to remember me with dignity and grace. I said, okay, we'll do that. And so I used to take him to the community clinic over there on Tujunga and Magnolia in your district. And we would go there, and then I'd take him to APLA or to the doctor visits. And then one time we went to the clinic, and it was closed. And the county had shut it down. The same week, they gave Disney $3.5 million for the Disney Concert Hall. Now, you can bet I was at the County Board of Supervisors meeting raising that issue. See, those are the type of issues that are happening in all of our communities. So having a viable central committee to represent those individuals in your AD is important. I know because you're going to city council meetings, you're going to neighborhood council meetings. So one of the issues that's taking place is that Burbank or Glendale that's cutting down the trees.
Burbank.
But I've heard it. A friend happened in Glendale.
In Glendale as well, and it's like, wait a minute, I thought did we just celebrate Arbor Day or something like that?
Yep, Earth Day.
And Earth Day, and it's like the progressive policies that people spout, it seems to get lost somewhere, especially like with the trash. I think one of your cities at
Glendale.
Glendale wants to go to a commercial trash franchise, to exclusive commercial trash franchise.
Already happened.
Yeah.
And so that ties right into the cost of living. What it costs to rent an apartment. Because what happened in Los Angeles did the same thing. The premise was because there was so much recyclable material ending up in the landfill. We had 180, 200 trash companies doing business in Los Angeles. You were free to do whoever gave you the best price for the best service, you were able to use them. So what the city council said, we need to control the amount of recyclables going into the landfill. We want to be environmentally conscious. So if we can control the number of companies that are picking up the commercial trash, then we'll have more control over the recyclables. So just like Glendale, they divided the city of LA into 11 zones, and they put out for bid for each of the zones. Now, I don't know what Glendale's policy is, but in LA's policy, if you want to supply toilet paper to the city, you have to be a union company or have a labor peace agreement with the union. And as it turns out, it was a labor organization, LA County Federation of Labor, through their environmental arm called LANE, Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy, that was pushing the environmental issue and then created the largest takeover of a private business by organized labor in the history of Los Angeles. And what happened? The housing providers, I don't call them landlords, I call them housing providers, because they're the ones that provide housing.
Right.
The trash pickup for the housing providers, if you were lucky, it only went up 300%. Some of them went up 1,000%. And because it was a closed system, basically a pseudo-monopoly, and the city gave the trash hauler the right to determine how much trash service you need, how many pickups, how many bins, the route, and it just skyrocketed this is not only for apartments, but also for commercial buildings. And so all of a sudden, the rents started going up. And renters think, well, it's the greedy landlords that's putting the money in their pocket. And no, it's not. It's the policies that are passed by these politicians. That's why it's important to have individuals in the Central Committee that can explain that. And so you start going to some of these neighborhood council meetings and you listen to some of these individuals talk about these local issues. And you present yourself as a member of the LA County Republican Party Central Committee representing them. All of a sudden, people they'll come to you with challenges they're facing. You may not be able to to solve that challenge. But at least you'd be able to direct them, or with the relationships that you build with individuals within the various departments, to be able to get answers for them. That really puts value. And that's why I'm really excited about this time for the central committees, because people are really hurting right now, whether it's abandoned cars, whether it's crime, whether it's, street lights that are out because the copper wire has all been stolen. So with the broken sidewalks and dark streets, it's not safe, especially for seniors. You fall down and you break a hip or something like that. That is a life-changing event. And so at the local level, these are the people that are really going to say, there's value. How can I participate? And so that's, now some of your AD members, they've been reelected as well. I think Alan was reelected.
Yes, Alan Brandstetter, and as well as Mr. Lou Barnett. And we're blessed to have new members like Lisa, who brings a different dynamic with what's going on with the parents, what are families dealing with. There are all these different issues impacting us, that it goes back to one common thread. One's the parent, one's the business owner, one's the senior, and some of us were kind of in maybe what we call the sandwich part of our life, where we have to be concerned about our elderly and our children, and while at the same time, though, trying to meet the daily demands of life. And so we all need this connectivity to take place so that we can help be a voice for people that are dealing with the challenges that are impacted by these decisions that are taking place, call it at the state level, county level, city, school board, and be able to provide some type of, you want to call, common sense. And sometimes it's just a matter of educating the people up there making those decisions in terms of, hey, if you make that vote, this is the impact that it has on the school or what's going to happen with the road or flow of traffic. And every decision has an impact.
Yeah, and that's, sometimes people are so focused on their objective, they miss the unintended consequences.
Absolutely.
And I saw that in West LA when they put a bus-only lane down Wilshire Boulevard, as a test. And the small businesses that no longer had parking, 30% of them went out of business. And yet the West LA Chamber of Commerce chair asked me to come out there, and he put a chair in the bus lane, only lane, and had me sit there and just wait, and waited and waited and waited for a bus. And he goes, and yet they won't stop it. They just keep on doing it. And so the political environment in California, is, I think people are really starting to look not necessarily directly at party, but also for individuals that are willing to listen, that are willing to come up with maybe some suggestions, and that we realize that we're not going to agree on every issue, especially within the party, but we don't need to agree on every issue. If we can find issues that we do agree upon, the cost of living, public safety, different things like that, the quality of life issues, those across the board. And as when we were talking about them, cutting down the trees, there needs to be some a little bit of forethought and community input in some of these things that are taking place. So it's an amazing time, Tony. And here you are, you're running for state assembly.
Yes, sir.
But people don't realize. It seems like a great many people are complaining about all of these issues. But when you look at California is a single-party state as far as governance. We have the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, controller, treasurer, superintendent of public instruction. They're all Democrats.
Absolutely.
You have 80 members of the state assembly with, I think, maybe 13 or 14 Republicans.
Right.
You have the state Senate with 40 members of the state Senate with maybe 9 Republicans, supermajority in both houses, which means they can pass any bill they want and the governor will sign it for the most part. And they pass between 900 and 1,400 bills a session. Is that our problem, that we don't have enough bills? We don't have enough laws?
And I think you articulated very well about people wanting to be able to talk to somebody. Back to the trees in Burbank, the lady that came up to me, she was so upset. She tried everybody in the city council and the city of Burbank, and nobody would give her the time of day. And she called me on a whim, taking a chance, hoping that I would answer the phone, thinking that I would have a staff and they would say, no, he's busy. And she
not my job.
She happened to get me out of all people. And I just listened, and I'm like, okay, educate me on what's happening. And, we had coffee with about 7 or 8 neighbors of hers, just so I have an idea and she was very grateful. Not because I did anything, but I listened, and I'm like, I agree with you, And I actually went and talked to the police officers. I'm trying to get them to back off, but they were just doing their job, right? They got directed by the watch commander. You better stand fast, stay there. But it's attempting to do something to help. And I think that's why they were so upset that their leaders weren't helping. The mayor said, I can't do anything about it. And I said, well, maybe he can't, right? But he could at least stand up for the community and say, this is not the right thing to do. We need to have a meeting and talk with the city managers and, Recs and Parks and Recs. But that didn't happen. And I think that's what we're missing, is that some people in office, they're not empathetic to people. They don't empathize with what's going on in their life. Maybe they can't fix all our problems, but maybe they can just be there and say, you know what? I understand, however, these are the rules of engagement, and I can't do anything, but I'm going to go and talk on your behalf, whether it works or not. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like the self-determination program. Yeah. We keep talking about how we can't help, or you can't have school choice. The money's already there, right? The self-determination program came from the federal government. They gave an option to parents. You decide what kind of treatment your kid or your adult person they take care of needs. I don't want to decide that for you. I don't understand why people don't want to just grab that and just take charge and say, you know what, this is what we need to do with everything, because it's we the people, right? Yeah. The Constitution was written for us, not them.
Well, and that's, I think, the position that you're now in as the AD representing, not, okay, well, you're the Republican AD and the Democrats have their own central committee as well. But when the elected officials, well, and Lisa, you're an elected official, and so is Ara. You're an elected official. That's you're governed by the election codes. I mean, and you are an official body, and so if the city won't put on a town hall, what a great opportunity! If there is an issue that's important, the central committee can go ahead and put on the town hall and invite people to come and share your ideas. And and we were talking about how to bring more people into the process, because there needs to be within your assembly district, or not needs to be, there could be within your AD a land use committee, a public safety committee, a whatever the issues are that you're hearing about within your AD, form a committee and have them focus on working with public works or building and safety, or so that you're getting explanations. And so you have you're like the ombudsman for the 44th AD. When someone, they know who to call. They know who to call, how to contact you. Your assembly district meetings, rather than some of the ones that just meet on Zoom, you find a place where you can have at least 30 or 40 people attending. You don't have to discuss all the business, but you give them an opportunity to be involved, and say, all of a sudden you have all these volunteers, because you can't do it all yourself. You have a life, you have kids, and by expanding it, what you really do with what the part of the mission of the Central Committee is, strengthen the Republican Party base, register voters, and support candidates. So those are like the three main sections. But under that, it's whatever your imagination, whatever your heart tells you, whatever you want to do, it's wide open.
I think people would really respond to that very well, because when because I was new and a little bit unknown, I had to really campaign for my spot. And people were so excited. They were like, yeah, like one of ours is on the inside now. And all of the parents were really excited to have someone represent them. And I think they would respond very well.
Think of all those parents, get them involved.
Yes.
In an education committee.
Yeah. And I think a lot of them would.
Yeah. And so, and that's how you build it. And then, so my responsibility is, especially with the new people, is to make sure that you have the training. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing tomorrow. We're having a training for all of the ADs in the San Fernando Valley. May 25th, we're going to have a training for all the ADs from Long Beach to East LA out to Whittier. That's 710 freeway corridor. We're going to do one for the San Gabriel Valley all the way to San Bernardino, and one in West Los Angeles all the way to Torrance, just to say this is what you'll get tomorrow is you'll get a course in being a Central Committee member with different ideas. And then what my responsibility is, whatever you guys come up with, and then you come up with the budget to do it, then it's my responsibility to raise the money in order to fund what you want to do. Because you're volunteers. Mm-hmm. You're giving something that's far more precious than money.
And so what happens is it allows a platform more or less to take place of, we all have talents, and how do we put all these talents together, as you articulated earlier, mm-hmm. to take on various initiatives. Somebody may be an expert in planning, real estate development. Somebody may be an education expert. Someone may be in energy, whatever those talents are. Because what happens is, and this is one of the things I found when I just started and even mentored people along, is the process can be overwhelming.
Yes.
What you don't know, you don't know. But if you have an issue you're passionate about, it could be education, the environment, special needs, whatever it is, where do you go to and how do you get people engaged and listen to you on that? And so I like to use the analogy that we as a group, there's a lot more room at the party, at the table for the family to grow, for expertise. And I would even add that if, for example, you have an event going on at a certain time, or whether it be in a certain group, invite us. That's how we learn. That's how we become educated. That's how we break bread together. And from where we are in life with media, people learn and it gets virally expanded.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And, one of the subcommittees could be a public safety committee.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because especially in your AD, because you have Glendale, Burbank individual police departments, mm-hmm. but you have Sunland Tujunga, so you have Foothill Division, mm-hmm. you have the North Hollywood Division, mm-hmm. you have individuals on your public safety committee going there, meeting the captain, meeting the watch commanders, meeting the senior lead officers, getting their direct cell phones. Mm-hmm. And so when something comes up and they contact your AD, you get a hold of your public safety committee chair, and they call, the senior lead for the area, and you address issues like that. So it's like, it is really like getting back to, I think politics was meant to be a noble profession. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the goal going forward, is to bring as many people into that noble profession as possible and be part of the solution. And so, as your AD should have its own website, should have its own, have the list the different subcommittee chairs and direct contact information, email, and all of a sudden you become you become like the old general store in the old Wild West towns. As you become the center of activity and exchange of information and ideas. And I think that's really great.
I even have people just reaching out to me on my Instagram account because they're, Republicans, and they don't know who to talk to, and they see my account and what I post, and they're like, "Hey, what about this issue? And I just had one the other day reach out and say, can I get involved? How can I get involved? Who can I talk to?"
Yeah.
So I definitely think there's an appetite for that out there.
Well, there's all these volunteers, Tony, and you can delegate these assignments, these tasks, delegate these opportunities, because that's what I say, they really are. Mm-hmm. They're opportunities. And as they get involved, and some of them get involved in campaigns and in candidate support or candidate recruitment. When it comes time to be appointed as a delegate, I think every Central Committee member should be a delegate to the state party because you're working that hard. And as a delegate to the state party, because what happens at the top is going to have a direct impact at you at the county level as well. So, I want to thank, all of you for spending your Friday evening with me. And I look forward to, whatever I can do to, like I said, offer support, offer finances and help. And you'll see our LA Regional Empowerment website. There'll be links to any of your social media, any of your websites directly to the your assembly district. So whatever you want on here, just let me know, and there'll be a direct link to it. That way, there can be a calendar if you're going to have different events for your AD. That way, we can promote it. We'll also promote it. They'll promote it on the LA County Republican Party website. But the more eyes we can get on what you're doing and what opportunities people have, I think this is going to be a county that is too good to move from. So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
All right, thank you. All right, folks, that's it for this show. We'll be back next week with another Central Committee, and believe me, we're going to bring Ara and Lisa and Tony back. We'll be doing some updates. This is just the beginning, so you can go to LARegionalEmpowermentFund.com, and you'll be able to see the video of this show on our Instagram and our YouTube channel. And so thank you all, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you, David.
Thank you.